Hello, I am so grateful to be here today. We are going to talk about a really important piece of our holiday season since it's pretty much ramping up at the beginning of December for a lot of us. And my intention of sharing with you today is to help you out so you get to experience more joy and love this awesome holiday season. My name is Robin Lee. I'm a medical intuitive. I live in California and have been in practice for over 32 years. I get to help people understand how their lifestyle choices affect not only their physical, but their emotional health, and how all of the pieces of our life connect to how we physically and emotionally feel. That being said, happy December. It's our first Wednesday video in December, and I am so grateful to be here. So for me, when I start the holiday season, I think about what I want to experience. And I think it's safe to assume that sometimes we forget that in our experience of creating holidays. And we oftentimes say yes to all kinds of events and all kinds of things, forgetting what we need or what we want to feel healthy, to feel happy, to feel strong, and to know what we need to feel aligned and to keep our internal batteries charged so that we can show up and receive the most that we can in any given time. I think it's so often we just fall on autopilot. And during the holiday seasons, it happens a lot because of traditions and expectations and all kinds of things. So, what I want you to remember in the healing process, it's important to remember that where you were at last year, you're not at this year. You've gone through a lot this last year, and you are a different person than you were the year before. So, if you keep doing the same thing the same way every single year, you could see where that might affect the quality of joy that you feel. I highly recommend exploring and looking at what you can do to create more joy for yourself this holiday season. Oftentimes that means delegating, oftentimes it means turning down a couple of invites here or there and thinking about what you need for yourself to feel really, really good. So oftentimes it's called cold and flu season, but oftentimes what that means is that there's a lot of parties, there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of things that are more internal or inside that can oftentimes affect our immunity based on also our own self-care. So it's very common for me to hear clients kind of jumping ship in December when it comes to drinking water and sleeping well and exercising. It's like this whole thing just takes priority. I'm not saying that that's bad, but I'm saying it's a really healthy thing to have a game plan going into the holiday season. What are your non-negotiables to keep your health and joy aligned at the highest level you possibly can? It's a great question to ask yourself, and it's something that I don't think anybody necessarily has the answer but you to answer. Most of us just don't take time to ask questions and then actually listen for an answer. So for you to feel joy and harmony this holiday season, for you to feel as energetic and aligned as you can to keep your immune system functioning the best that you can, what does that mean for you? How can you navigate the ship? And this is really, really important. So on average, most people gain anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds during the holiday season. And that comes because their self-care just goes out the window. And it's not so much, I'm not mentioning that so much about weight gain, as much as understanding that if you're gaining that kind of weight, normally what that means is you're eating a lot more food than the body needs, under higher amounts of stress, and it's kind of just a snowball thing that starts to happen. So for you, if you're wanting to align and to create joy this holiday season, how do you first anchor into healthy, positive self-care things? And the first thing I would recommend is making sure that a non-negotiable for you is drinking at least 85 to 100 ounces of water every single day. From a point of health and wellness, there's a lot that positively goes with that during the holiday season. Most of us are going from hot to cold, hot to cold. So you're in a heated house, out to the cold, back in, back out. That in itself is very, very, very dehydrating for the system. On top of that, a lot of us are eating more processed foods, more sugar, we're consuming more alcohol. All of these things are incredibly dehydrating for our physical bodies. So if you're looking to keep immune system up and you're wanting to keep your physical energy up, the number one thing you're going to want to focus on is absolutely 100% focusing on hydration. And it's really important to remember that, again, when I say that snowball effect, that's not necessarily a positive thing. It's if you eat a lot of processed food, you're drinking more alcohol, you're going to wake up more tired, which means you might need more caffeine and all of these things. But the truth is, when it comes down to it, your number one focus with immunity is getting fresh air, getting fresh movement, like a lot of outdoor fresh air movement when you can, if you're in a city that isn't super duper cold and blustery, and allowing yourself to make sure to properly hydrate. Another trick is making sure when you're going from hot to cold, cover your head, wear a beanie, wear some kind of a hat, cover your feet and cover your palms. There's a lot of energy that goes out of these channels. It's an easy way to really keep that really truly contained. So for me, that's my number one. I focus so much on hydration, and I allow myself to make sure that when I'm going from hot to cold, that I'm covering my head, I'm covering my feet, and I'm covering my hands. And that allows me to stay more contained so that I'm not getting cold and I'm not getting chilled. It's very important. Some people also need to cover their neck area. You'll know, because if you feel uncomfortable and cold, that's not the best for your immunity. So try to do everything you can to feel maybe the crispness in the air, but not where you're feeling cold inside. And I know you know the difference. So that is my number one for the holiday season for everyone that I work with. The number two thing is looking at stress reduction. Like, what can you do to reduce your stress? How can you make the holiday season actually easier for you? It's a really important question to ask yourself. And if you're not thinking about doing it differently, obviously these answers are going to be very difficult to figure out. But if you're willing to figure out different ways to make the holidays easier, and you start problem solving, you start communicating, it's quite magical how different a holiday can look and how truly peaceful and stress-free it can actually feel. Stress is always telling us something, and we oftentimes learn to override it. So what's the stress trying to tell you? Are you overloading yourself? Are you overwhelming yourself? Are you doing things you don't want to be doing? What is the stress trying to tell you? So as you allow yourself to just kind of tune in and ask that question, have a nice glass of water, because we're really focusing on hydration so that we can get all the viruses, all the other foods that we're eating that the body normally is not used to. We get all of that to flush out, and we let the body stay in a higher level of harmony and awareness. Looking at what stress can be telling you is a really cool thing to do that can help support you. So if you're saying, I'm stressed, well, what is it that's stressing you out? And most importantly, what can you do to support it? Stress does lower immunity. Stress definitely lowers the quality and the amount of joy that you are personally going to feel in whatever experience that you're doing. People will oftentimes tell me, okay, and I need to get good sleep, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. We just need to be practical during the holiday season and pick one or two things that can really help us line up to feel more like ourselves, to feel more energized. And that's the thing, is if you've had too much to drink, if you're not used to drinking at all and you had a drink, or if you're not used to eating a lot of processed foods and now you're seeing point after point, you keep eating it, I highly, highly recommend that water is your number one focus, because you will feel a ton better. And figure out how to properly track your water by, logging it, or getting a certain bottle that you know how many ounces is in it, and that you need 3 of these, bottles to be able to complete your daily water intake. You're going to feel so much better. And then from that, let stress be an indicator of you can do it a different way. So that's what stress does, is there is a different way to do something when it feels like stress. The question is, are you going to ask how you can do it differently? And are you in a place of being relaxed enough to be able to get different answers for yourself? And it's a really, really cool thing to think about. And as I mentioned before, oftentimes delegating, asking for more help, simplifying the schedule will help tremendously. The thing is we see how our parents do things. We see how the family dynamic does things. And oftentimes we mimic this behavior instead of remembering that stress is trying to tell us something. And if you're wanting to create more joy this holiday season, what that means is you're wanting to create less stress for yourself this holiday season. So if that means that instead of buying gifts for everyone, you bring up the topic conversation maybe of doing some kind of a gift exchange where everybody picks each other's name, that might be something. If you're used to cooking all the meal, maybe you end up saying, I'll do X and Y, and you do P, Q, T, and Z, and start delegating and seeing if people want to help. And you might think, oh, I don't want to impose on people. And that's fine, but understand by making that choice to not want to impose on somebody means that you're going to have a certain amount of joy taken away. Or allow yourself to say, I actually did have lots of choices, but I chose this, and this is what's going to give me the most joy. I challenge you, and I want you to share below anything that you find, and maybe tag this video and like hold on to it. Anything that you see that's creating stress, that you're learning to problem solve differently, I'd love to hear how this is going for you. I would love to hear what you're problem solving differently this holiday season, because that's the trick. It's not about getting some kind of perfect, I'm going to eat more vegetables today, I'm going to do this. We all know what to do to make things better. So that's not the question. The question is, how do you not go on autopilot? And the question is then, let's use stress as a way of helping us get more insight. Instead of seeing stress as the enemy, stress is an opportunity to do things differently so that we can create more joy for ourselves this holiday season. I love this reminder for each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing how you problem solve differently. So hydrate away and allow yourself to use stress as an indicator that there is a different way to do it that could create more joy for yourself. And I can't wait to hear the stories of how you shift gears, how you turn stress into love, because it's a very empowering thing to learn how to do. And it's a really cool challenge during the holiday season. Happy holidays, everyone.